Hey, tourpreneurs, it's Mitch Bach, and just a quick note before we begin today's episode. Tourpreneur is currently sponsored by Google. We're thankful for their support of our community, and we are offering with them a completely free course helping you unlock the power and potential of Google's Things to Do program, which is specifically helping tour operators add their tours to Google in new ways that gives you new exposure and more direct bookings. To learn more, go to tourpreneur.com/Google. And as always, show notes, more resources, links to our newsletter, our business coaching community, and so much more are available on tourpreneur.com. Now to the episode.
This episode of Tourpreneur is sponsored by Rocket Res. Rocket Res has everything a tour or attraction needs. Built for high volume, their cloud point of sale puts all your sales streams into one easy-to-use platform. Find out more at rocketres.com/tourpreneur.
Welcome to the Tourpreneur podcast. Travel industry veteran Shane Whaley will take you on a journey with fellow tourpreneurs, sharing their tips, ideas, insights, and success stories to inspire you to make your tour business the best it can be. And now, here is your host, Shane Whaley.
Hello and welcome to episode 129 of the Tourpreneur podcast. Today, we are going to hear from Leanne Farmer. She runs a We Pedal tour in Edinburgh, Scotland. Before COVID hit, she had a year fully booked with tours. That all collapsed in March. How did she respond? What did she do when her friend said, you need to put your business to bed? We're going to learn all about that in today's episode. Plus, Leanne's going to share with us how she opened her business in 2019. First time running a tour business. Before that, she was a physical education teacher. She's going to share with us her 3 key learnings and tips from running a We Pedal bike tours in Scotland. Welcome to Tourpreneur, Leanne Farmer of a We Pedal. How are you?
Thank you, Shane. Yes, I'm very well. I'm very excited to be here. So thank you for asking me.
Well, I'm really intrigued by your story because you were posting on our Facebook group, our Tourpreneur Facebook group, and you know Amy over at Hong Kong. And I was really intrigued by your story of how you've pivoted and how you've survived at a We Pedal. Can you share with our listeners, talk us through what happened in March 2020 for you and your business?
Well, I had only set it up in April 2019, and I was surprised at how busy I actually was. By the beginning of 2020, I had a fully booked schedule, pretty much from April all the way through to September.
Wow.
You know, the tourism trade in Edinburgh is very healthy. So I was looking forward to a really good year. And then, of course, lockdown happened. And like every other tour operator, my calendar simply emptied overnight. Okay, I thought this isn't great. I probably watched as much news and worried as much as everybody else for a few weeks and thought, right, I can't do this. I need to be doing something productive. So I lent out my fleet of bikes to key workers and started to service key workers' bikes for free. And that gave me a sense of purpose again. That made me feel like I was somehow contributing a very small piece of this big COVID jigsaw that was happening.
Wow. How did you get that word out to key workers that your bikes were available?
I put it on Facebook pages. There was a lot of people doing it in England. I thought, I read by big tour companies, so I thought I want to do the same. I only have a fleet of 9, but in that time, various Facebook pages, mums groups, etc., and the uptake that they had all gone within a day. They were mostly doctors, nurses, and delivery drivers for chemists to deliver medicines, etc.
What were your friends telling you at this time in terms of your business and what you should do back in March?
I have a great group of friends, but I remember people saying, look, Leanne, just put it on the back burner. Just put it to bed. Stop stressing about it. It's gone until 2021, and then really focus on the next year. And it's just not in my nature to do that, really. I've been a teacher all my life, so I'm used to working all year round with the summer holidays where I can just breathe and relax. But this isn't a summer holiday. So I couldn't just breathe and relax. So I started to look at different ways of how to keep myself busy and how to take advantage of lockdown here in Edinburgh. Like most places, traffic stopped, and I was seeing more and more people out on their bicycles, women, families, individuals, groups of people really enjoying these open streets. And I thought, right, this is an opportunity here. I really need to be part of this. So when the initial lockdown stopped, I got my bikes back. That was maybe 2 months. So the key workers had my bikes for 2 months. In the heart of the summer, I completely changed focus and I offered local family rides for a very reduced price to show families where to go in Edinburgh, were traffic free or off the beaten track, try and find something new. Nobody was going on holiday, so I had a whole staycation group right at my fingertips. So I was showing them safe, outdoor, cheap alternatives to going away. And from then, I guess it snowballed. I was then taking women mainly on what I call confidence rides. So post-lockdown now, we're back to full-on traffic. These women still want to cycle, but they're afraid because traffic is back to normal. So I take them on confidence rides on how to show them how to cycle safely on the roads. If they want to find out a new route from getting to work from home, I would take them there. Then I was discovering there was a demand for women's bike maintenance sessions. So I was delivering bike maintenance courses on how to look after your own bike. So from going from no bookings, now suddenly over the summer and probably up until the end of October, again, my diary's been pretty much fully booked with those type of things that were servicing the local community.
And how did you switch from your normal marketing for your tours pre-March to promoting what you were doing locally to the local Edinburgh market?
That was a really hard thing to do. And again, I was struggling what to do with that. But I guess it's the power of Facebook, to be honest. Mums groups, business groups, various connections out there that Facebook can give. And I suspect that word of mouth got the ball rolling from giving out my bikes to key workers. I think just people are very kind. People are very generous. If they receive a good deed, they're more than happy to promote other people. So I think the ball got rolling with word of mouth. But now it's definitely through Facebook, Instagram, and I have my own website, but the traffic through my website is very small compared to the traffic through Facebook.
And when you say Facebook, is that through a page or through Facebook ads? How does that look for a wee pedal?
So a wee pedal Facebook page, and then I promote that through various business group forums, I guess, through Facebook. And Instagram's been getting quite a bit of business as well. I have taken out a few Facebook ads, but to be honest, I think I've only spent in total about £50. I'm probably not doing it right. There's someone out there probably screaming at me saying, do it. But I've not yet had to spend a lot of money on Facebook ads. I have done it, I've tried, but as yet, I think it's mainly organic finds.
Well, I mean, even if people are screaming at you, if you're selling out right now through your organic efforts, then, I commend you because that's not costing you anything other than time, of course, instead of running up a big Facebook ad bill. What advice would you have for other operators out there? Let's say they want to do something similar to you in another city and they want to engage with the community and interact on other business forums or Facebook groups. What's some of the key tips you would share?
Oh, well, number one, I would say volunteer, 100%. That's how I got started in this. I was volunteering for 3 different cycling-related charities, and that definitely planted the seed in my mind that I want to do this for a living. But what volunteering does for you, it puts you right in the heart of the community, and you get to know your clientele a lot better. It's also goodwill. People will talk about you more favourably if you're giving up your time for free. And it's part of my commitment within a wee pedal that I do pay it back. And I still volunteer now for 2 organisations, and I will continue to do that. It's really important to me. So I think number one is you have to give back to the community. It's all very well being in the tourist trade, but it has to be sustainable.
Yeah.
You have to look after the people who actually live in the city. So if you have a service that you can give for free, even if it's once or twice a year, it doesn't have to be every week. I think it's really important that you give the locals a taste of what tourists as well.
Sure. And then when you engaged with other groups online, what tips would you have about that in terms of how you post, how you interact? Because you can't just suddenly turn up on a group and say, hey, look at my stuff, right? There is a decorum.
I think I'm always very respectful and positive about other people's businesses on these posts. I try to support local businesses, whether it's liking them, following them, commenting on what they offer, and if I can afford it, I'll buy something from them. A nice example perhaps is there's a little small business who do events in Edinburgh. So we started following each other and we built up a bit of an online friendship, and I will always support her and she will always support me. I was asked by Small Business Saturday, which is a company based in London, to be a roving reporter to interview other small businesses in Edinburgh. So I chose this girl, and it was the first time she'd had a major media attention. So I thought that was perfect, really. It's just paying each other back. So I think you must engage with other businesses, and it's not really competition, is it? You're all out there supporting each other, trying to keep the ball rolling.
I agree. I've always said, because I worked for many years in the hotel industry, which is super competitive. And then when I moved to tours and activities, I remember I went to a big conference here in the US, my first week in this industry, and I was shocked at how our industry felt like one big family. And there is that in hotels and airlines for sure, to a certain extent, but it was like this was like a close-knit family. And my feeling is, as we get through COVID and reopen and recovery, that we will start to work with what were previously some of our competitors, because it may be, I don't have capacity to do something every single day of the week because I'm working a side job now to pay the bills. But, Bill or Sarah, I can give business to them and vice versa. I think we're going to see a lot more collaboration in our industry than ever before.
I completely agree with you. And I think if you can collaborate, the more the better, especially this coming year. We don't know what's going to happen. We're all hoping and praying that we'll bounce back, but hey, it may take until 2022. So I'm more than happy to collaborate. I've already had some small collaborations with other small businesses in Edinburgh that's proved, semi-successful. So I think I want to continue to do that.
What I love about your approach, and I think my major takeaway from this, is when you're engaging with other groups and communities, especially online, is you're giving value. You're giving value first before you're asking for something. And I think that's critical. And I see this myself. I run several Facebook groups of several thousand. And I tell you, if someone just pops up in the group and sells their stuff in the first post, they're gone. Like, I kick them out because I'm like, yeah, that's not the kind of I want the person who's going to come and interact. When someone's saying, hey, what ResTech system are you using? Or I'm struggling with this. So, you come in and help out and say, well, in my experience, A, B, and C. That is what we need to do when we engage in online communities to grow our business, is not just to come in and look at me thing.
No, you can't just go and exactly post and say.
People do, though.
Yeah, I guess so. But I guess for long-term sustainable future, it's give and take. And running a business is so new for me already. My learning curve is a steep line.
Let's talk about that, Leanne, because you said you started your business in 2019. You were a teacher before that. Was that correct?
Yeah, I've taught PE for 23 years, I think now. 10 years mainly in England.
You look far too nice and sympathetic to be a PE teacher. I tell you, if I show you a picture of my PE teachers from school, I wouldn't want to take a bike tour with them.
Yeah, I guess hopefully things have changed. But no, I've had some wonderful, wonderful PE colleagues, very kind people. And PE's changed a lot since I was at school as well, thank goodness.
Yeah, it's funny. We were just talking about the snow here in Vermont. And I remember my PE lessons, it'd be snowing and you'd come into school and say, we're going to go in the gym today, right, Sadie? But, oh, no, we're out to play rugby. They would play rugby hell and high water, no matter what the weather was. freezing cold.
I
Anyway,
know.
so you were a school teacher for many years. How did you make that switch then into bike tours?
I think by complete accident, we spent the last 10, 12 years living in Asia, 10 years in Hong Kong, 2 years in Shanghai. And our son obviously was born and brought up out there, and he developed a hip condition called Perthes, which is a childhood condition where the ball and socket joint crumbles away. So overnight, he had to stop all sports completely. He was in a wheelchair for 18 months, and I took it really badly. And then, you begin then to switch your mindset into a positive frame of mind. And we got him a hand cycle. I had no idea these things existed. So we got him a hand cycle and did a lot of charity work and set up a charity and ended up leaving Hong Kong, but we travelled the long way home. So part of that route was to cycle across Austria to raise more money and raise more awareness for Perthes. And this little dude, he was 7 at the time. So by the time we were in Austria, he was 8, and he cycled 170 kilometers
Wow.
with his little arms going, and he just inspired me. And it sounds corny, but it was my son that pushed me into thinking I need to give back to this world of cycling, because without this hand cycle, I would have been still a mess.
Yeah.
This saved us. So when we got back to the UK, I knew I wanted a change of direction. I wanted something else to challenge me. And that's when I started volunteering for various cycling activities, one of them being all ability cycling, which looks at adaptive bicycles. And I really loved it so much. And I thought, I want to do this for a living. So with more and more volunteering came up, I was leading rides, leading mainly women and families. I thought, right, let's just do this. So I set up a wee pedal one night over a glass of wine, thought up the name, looked at a few logos, and posted my first ride on TripAdvisor.
You make it sound so easy. I know, yeah. Even just logos alone, it keeps you awake at night, right?
Yeah, but there's so many logo apps out there. So
yeah.
It takes the pressure off you, because I'm not a designer. I don't really know what I'm doing. And then, you get feedback from friends and family, and I wanted people to be really strict with me. I was going up to strangers and saying, look, do you like this logo? What do you think?
You went up to strangers and said that?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Like on Princess Street or something, you just went up and...
Pretty much. I remember I was at Glen Tress, which is a mountain bike place in Peebles in the Borders. And by now, my son is out the wheelchair, so he's all fine. And we were having a little ride. And I just used to go up to mums, really, who were with their kids, and said, look, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? And I would give them the choice of 2 logos, and they would give me their feedback. And why not? What have you got to lose?
Nothing at all. No, I love that, and I endorse it. And what I would say to our listeners is, if you're too shy to go and ask strangers, come join our Tourpreneur Facebook group and put your logo in there, and we will give, honest feedback as well. It's another benefit of the group. But I still like the idea of going up to people who are cyclists, because, we know what we're like in tour operator land. We kind of are in our bubble, but going up to strangers, I admire you for doing that. That takes guts.
I just thought, what's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to say, no, I don't like it. So, and I needed feedback from a whole range of people, not just people who are into bikes. Of course, I don't tend to get cyclists signing up with me. They don't need me. It's people that need a little bit of encouragement to bicycle to explore the city.
You mentioned the mechanics course for women, and I wanted to buy a bike here in Vermont in the summer because obviously stuck at home and everything. I thought, Vermont is the Green Mountain State is well known for people who come here to mountain bike. And first of all, I couldn't buy a bike because there weren't any around. They were all sold out. And secondly, I'm like, well, what happens if I get a flat tire? I'm 15 miles from home, up a mountain somewhere, and I'll have to call home to get a lift and all of that. And that's actually a large part of what stops me buying a bike is, I'm just not mechanically minded, to be honest with you. I'm rubbish at it. So going to a class like that, like you're offering, would be a huge boost to my confidence to take that hobby up.
Well, when you're in Edinburgh, Shane, you look me up.
I will.
Give you a little course. But you're dead right. I think that can be a barrier to many people wanting to get on a bike. And again, not wishing to stereotype in any way, but mainly feedback, it's from women that don't want to because they're scared if they're away from home. What do they do? So what we do in the class is keep it very basic, no previous experience needed. We talk about if you get a puncture, how to repair it, or at very least how to change the inner tube, how to adjust your brakes, how to adjust your gears, and just do a simple check, and how to look after your bike. The winters in Edinburgh are quite fierce, and there's a lot of salt on the road, so that affects the chain, etc. So I like to feel like we're giving them a bit of empowerment so they can feel independent enough to go out and cycle without the worry of what if I break down.
I love that. Have you used that in any of your social media? Because when I hear you discuss sort of the course, I thought, oh, if you had a YouTube channel, that would be really cool, because each week you could tackle something to do with bike maintenance, or through Instagram. Are you utilizing that at all?
No, that's a great idea, Shane. I guess I have to do more things like that, because you're dead right. I need to produce more little Instagram videos.
Let me say that if you are fully booked with tours right now, that's great. And we all wish we were kind of in that boat with you. So don't, I think as tourpreneurs, we often put way too much on our plates in terms of, oh, I must do the YouTube, I must do Instagram. Oh, and someone now is looking at TikTok. And I think sometimes that we have to do one or two things well. So if you're already doing those really well, stick with them. But if you feel like, no, I'd love to learn YouTube, I'd like to have YouTube to actually promote my tours, because what I've learned about YouTube this year is it's a great discovery tool. And it does come up, if you think about, if I search now, how to fix a flat tire, the chances are YouTube videos are going to come up in that search. So it can be a good way of getting discovered, but, only if you have that time and capacity for it.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think I've only got 3 YouTube clips on my website, but I was told that as well pushes you up the SEO ratings. I don't know if that's true, but
it can do.
I've learned something.
Yeah, it can do if done right. And also, I think it's just good PR for your business, because, let's say there is a lady out there who really wants to bike, is a little unsure. She sees you on video. You're not the scary PE teacher that, but can see that, oh yeah, I could really learn from this lady. She sounds nice, etc. I will call her, so it's good for promotion for that as well. And something else you could do, our good friend Rob, he runs DC Trip Hacks. And he has a YouTube channel, but on his YouTube channel, he doesn't promote his tours per se. He'll have things like what to pack to visit Washington in November. So informational. So if you have someone who's coming to Edinburgh, hopefully we're in recovery, etc., and you say, okay, this is what you should pack for Edinburgh in June, or what, and just something informational. So it's like we were talking about engaging with groups. It's not book my tours. It's, hey, you're coming to Edinburgh. And then somebody might discover you because they're looking at what should I pack for Edinburgh in June, and then come up to your video and go, oh, this bike tour looks good. We should do that.
That's a great idea. Okay, I'm going to note that down after this call.
Give you lots of homework here, but I'll email you the link. And again, we're going to touch on this because I know you've shared 3 key learnings with us since you started your business, which I want to dive into. And one of those actually correlates to this. So the first key learning you wanted to share was go on other types of tours in other cities. Can you share more about your thinking around that?
Yeah, I think when we were living in Hong Kong, my son was big into bikes, so we would completely take advantage of that. We went on bicycle tours in various Asian countries. And the difference between having personable guides and not a personable guide was huge. So we may have gone to some beautiful places. For example, rice paddy fields in Vietnam, absolutely stunning. But the guide was just a little bit going through the motions, whereas we would go to another tour and maybe not in such stunning locations, but the guide was fantastic. He made us feel special, full of history. The bikes were good. He was all very, very neat and tidy in the way he spoke and the way he arranged things. And that's what stuck in my mind. I wanted to take the best bits from all the tours that I'd been to. And still now, I go on cycle tours. We were in London only in February, just before lockdown this year. And my husband was working. Jack and I took a tour in London. And again, I was all the way through, like a busman's holiday.
Yeah.
And all the way through, I was thinking, right, what would I do here? Or I really like what he's done here. That's fantastic. And I would tell them, say, look, I run a cycle tour myself. I'm really impressed with what you've done.
Nice.
Would you mind if I use this in mine? And it's kind of cool that you're always learning from other people. And I think we cannot rest on our laurels. I think we're always learning. it's important to tweak your tours as well, to keep them fresh, so you don't just go through the motions yourself.
Yeah. What's the best thing you've seen someone do on a bike tour that you've thought, oh yeah, I want to implement that in a wee pedal?
I think the amount of knowledge and history about the place without it being boring. You know, at times you can be standing around in the cold and it's just too much information. And tourists want quick, snappy, funny tales about the city. And it was this guy in London who really grabbed my attention, that every story he told was over within 2 minutes, but it was funny. And it may have been sprinkled with a little bit of not the truth, not the whole truth.
Exaggerated a little.
Exaggerated it. But my son liked it. He's 10, 11. He liked it. I loved it. So I think what I took away is when I'm starting to talk about, for example, Hollywood Park and Arthur's Seat, which is our volcano, I can go on and on and on and on and on because I really love it so much. But I've learned, right, Leanne, 2 minutes, done, in, out, and then off we go again. Because the tourists, they'll start switching off, and you can tell quite quickly.
Absolutely. And what do you think is, like, and you don't name any names here, of course, but what's the worst thing you've seen on another tour where you just shook your head and thought, wow?
Yeah, safety, always. So I'm not going to name any tours or even in the city that I saw it, but the tour guide was just on a rickety old bike. I don't even think they had a helmet on. Now, that's another contentious issue. I'm not going to get on to that.
Yeah.
But no helmet for the guide. Too many clients on this tour. There was a trail behind her. I didn't see her looking around. They're on roads. The bikes weren't in good condition. And there was no branding. You know, maybe I'm just too anal about that, but I think at least have a logo on your back or on your panniers to look smart. You know, you're representing your business here, so look the part. And I deliberately do not look like a cyclist. I'm not cladded in lycra. That's on purpose. But I do have a very smart logoed jacket on if it's in the winter, or if it's a t-shirt, a regular dry fit t-shirt, but a wee pedal is everywhere. I think it's safety that I shake my head. I fear for that company that one day, touch wood, but never happens, but safety must be first. You know, you have to keep your group small and you have to keep an eye on them.
With your own business, your own tours, is there a high insurance premium because of safety issues?
Well, I can keep it to 8. So my insurance covers me and my qualification covers me for up to 8 clients. And I have a public liability insurance and I have a cycling activity insurance.
Right.
It's not too high. It's fairly expensive, but I don't think they're ripping me off. I feel quite happy paying that, knowing that I have peace of mind. But that's the double insurance that I choose to take out. And I never go above the numbers. If for some reason I have more than 8 people. For example, I had 2 American families based in London who wanted to join together in the summer. That's 10. That's fine, but I employed a co-leader. So I know many other volunteer leaders in the Edinburgh Network group. I bring them in and they help me out for a day.
Yeah. And when you started the business and you had to look into all of this, how did you get advice on which insurance you needed?
I think I asked a lot of the other volunteers I was working alongside. We volunteer for British Cycling. It's an organisation called Breeze, which is to encourage women to cycle. So I was asking a lot of the leaders there what they thought. And then they would give me great advice and I would go away and research it. And Cycling UK came up as one of the better providers. So I went with them and I made sure that I had a good, thorough chat on the phone. Does this definitely cover me for XYZ? I feel like I know what my limitations are, so that gives me peace of mind. And I everything is on my website, so all my qualifications and insurance documents.
Brilliant.
And actually, one thing that's quite surprised me is a lot of the OTAs do require you to give that information as well, which I'm glad about.
Got a quick message from one of our sponsors, and then we'll get right back to today's show. Stay tuned. Are you tired of using 6 different software applications to run your operation? RocketRes, the all-in-one system for tours and attractions, combines the ease of online booking with all those other tools you wish you had to run your operation. Have retail? Use their built-in retail point of sale. Want to market to your customers? Use their built-in CRM. Offering private events? No problem. Send digital contracts right out of RocketRez. For Tourpreneur listeners, for a limited time, you can sign up for a demo in the next 30 days, and RocketRez will waive all setup fees. Visit rocketrez.com/Tourpreneur for more details. And now, back to today's episode of Tourpreneur. Which OTAs are you working with out of interest?
I have Vitar, Get Your Guide, Amusement, Airbnb Experiences. There's a couple more that I've not actually had any bookings through. I'm on their site and I have the app on my phone. Never had to look into it because I just don't seem to get bookings through them. The main ones are through TripAdvisor, Airbnb Experiences, and Get Your Guide.
Sure. And before COVID hit, which of the OTAs was bringing you the most amount of business?
Oh, Airbnb Experiences. Yeah, mainly North American.
Really?
In fact, over 80% North American. Europeans tend to come through Get Your Guide. But yeah, Airbnb Experiences, I think it's just hands down, that's been the most I've had.
And how was that process getting approved by Airbnb Experiences for you?
It takes a wee while. They're very fussy with photos, so I got a lot of photos rejected. I'm taking them on my iPhone.
Yeah.
Or, my husband snaps me on a ride and they don't like pose photos. I mean, you know all this, but they don't like you to pose for photos. So it took a wee while of toing and froing. But I must say, their booking system in their app is pretty faultless. It's very easy for both the client and for me. I'm not too hot on their commission rates, but...
What do they charge you?
Well, they're 20%.
20, yeah.
Other OTAs are 25 and 30.
Yeah.
I just have to be Buddhist about that and think, well, without them, I probably wouldn't have these bookings. So you just have to suck it up, really. It's a costly charge, but the only issue that I don't like about Airbnb Experiences, and I've raised this with them before, is that they still make you have exclusivity. So if there's one person booked on or 8 people booked on, and that can be a bit of a bind, I think they should loosen up. If you're a big company and you're filling in spaces, it might work. But for me, I still run with one person.
Right. Yeah.
And then they're taking 20%. So, but hey, I'm still in my early days of learning. So perhaps one day, maybe I won't need them. I don't know. But at the moment, I'm more than happy to be with them.
In fairness, I think Airbnb are at their early days as well. I mean, from what they were in terms of experiences to what they are now. Now, when they started out, it was that you could only take Airbnb customers and they didn't want proper tour companies. They kind of wanted the person that was rented in the apartment to take them out and create something niche. I'm hearing all the time about tour companies who are selling through Airbnb. So my feeling is, and I haven't heard any gossip or anything about this, but my feeling is at some point they're going to transition into being more of a standard OTA, because I don't see how they can off. If you just turn around and say, I can't take one person out for, I can't run a business that way. And I think they're going to get that pushback a lot more. And I'm already hearing of, kind of rules being bent for them to allow certain tours to be on the platform.
It must happen.
Yeah.
It must. We had a Airbnb a supplier's thank you evening.
Okay, yeah.
I
hate that word, supplier. I hate that word. No, they do it. No, and Get Your Guide. I just don't like it, but never mind.
Yeah, I know. It was quite a nice evening, to be fair, but we all had the same gripe. That was the one bit of feedback that they all got from us all. And there must have been about 100 people in the room.
Wow.
And it was all the same issue. So, Shane, I 100% think you're right. Yeah. I think they will have to bow down a little bit.
Especially now they're a public company as of last week. So
is that correct? Is that right? Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So just to go back to your key learnings then. So you go on other types of tours in other cities. I think that's cool. Topic number 2 is keep tweaking your tours. So keeping them fresh and not stale and creating the best tour experience that you can. And then topic number 3, you've talked about quite extensively. Your learning number 3 is to volunteer and give back in your community, which is a very important one. And I admire you and commend you for, back in March, instead of just panicking and crying and You went out and got bikes out to key workers, which, those men and women on the front lines, I mean, we owe them so much.
Oh, invaluable.
Yeah.
What these guys, they were day in, day out, absolutely working hard and coming home to supermarket shelves being emptied. And it was awful. I really felt for them. So it made me feel a little bit good as well. And they could get to work safely on a bike. And I would supply them with a helmet and a lock and a pump and inner tubes to ease a little bit of the stress as well, because the nurses were saying, but Leanne, what if I get a puncture, or what if it gets stolen? I'm saying, well, look, it doesn't matter. Just treat it like your own bike and just get yourself to work and home and look after yourself.
Yeah.
They did a great job.
Wonderful. Well, I know we could chat for a lot longer, but I really appreciate those three key learnings. I think they're going to help a lot of our listeners out, especially commending you for sticking to your mission in March, when it's very easy to say, right, that's it, I'm out. I mean, I remember myself in March, I was in London when everything hit and I had to fly back to the States, and I was on that whole flight back home thinking my business is dead. Nobody's going to want to listen to a podcast about being a tour operator anymore. And I better sell all my investments because the world is about to blow up. That was my mentality back in March.
Yes, of course. Well, we all thought that, I think. I think it's a very dark place. None of us knew what was going to happen or how we could see the end of this. And of course, it's still unpredictable now. But I think these things are always temporary and we always find a way out of it. Human nature is incredibly resilient.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good people out there.
When you reopened back up after lockdown and you were engaging with local bookings, basically, how did you overcome any fear locals might have had about infection and sanitation and hygiene?
I wiped my bikes down in front of them with disinfectant. If they brought their own bikes, because that's the difference between local bookings, they probably will have their own bikes. Tourists, of course, they use my bikes, my helmets.
Yes.
So if it was a local booking, 9 times out of 10, they'd have their own bike. So I didn't have to go near their bike or touch their bike at all. If they used mine, I would disinfect it down, disinfect the helmet in front of them so they could see. And then we would make sure that we would keep social distance. Now, on a bicycle, that's fairly easy to do anyway. You're always at least an arm's width away, at least, from each other. Another tweak that I did was we weren't stopping at any coffee shops. So I would tweak the route to pass a coffee van, because that's part of my tour. We always stop for a refreshment.
Of course.
And with a family, coffee is very important.
Yeah.
With a family, it's got to include ice cream. So
right.
I would make sure that I would find a well-stocked van that offered both ice cream, coffees and snacks. So we could have a refreshment, but we could still be socially distanced. And I felt at that time being outside and doing a cycling trip was perhaps one of the safest things you could do.
Yeah, yeah.
As things have gone on, it's important that I don't drop my guard. You can get a little bit blasé. I would forget my mask.
Right.
You would just hop on the bike and I would go to shake someone's hand and no, I can't.
Yeah.
So it's just human nature, but I must remain vigilant, I think, and show the clients that I am a business and I do adhere to COVID rules. So I carry now a bunch of buffs so I can cover my face if I do forget my mask in my bag. And I carry hand sanitizer and Dettol wipes in my bag at all times for both the clients and myself.
Yes.
But the mask thing isn't a problem because we're not going inside cafes at the moment. But if they want to use the loo, then of course they need to.
And you're socially distanced on the bikes anyway, right? So
that's right.
Yeah, absolutely. So an idea for you. One of the best videos I saw when COVID first hit, and it was the ride, and they have buses throughout New York City, and they had this really cool video of their staff deep cleaning the bus. And they put it on a fast forward loop. So it was like really fast because nobody wants to watch someone just wipe this down. And I wonder if that would be good for your Instagram or your YouTube, would be that, you cleaning all the bikes down.
That's genius. Okay. See, I've learned another thing. Thank you. I will use that.
Entrepreneurialism is all about, like you just said, right? Looking at other tours, and I look at everyone's social media, and I'm like, all these ideas are stolen from others.
Oh, that's fab. Yeah, but you've retained that information, and that's the key, because we all look at each other's tours, but you forget them. So you've retained that. So brilliant. I will definitely use that. Thank you.
Maybe you and Jack can have fun doing that, you know?
I'll have to bribe him. Yeah, he's at that age.
Of course. You know what I mean. Of course. So as we wrap up here, can you share with us what's the best thing that's happened to you since starting your business, since you became a tourpreneur?
Oh, well, I've won a few awards, which has been lovely. I won Best Startup for the Great British Entrepreneur Awards.
Wow.
So that's Best Startup in Scotland. Scotland and Northern Ireland is the full title. And then I won, they call it New Kid on the Block, which is Best Startup. And that's UK-wide. That was through the Small Awards. So that was lovely and a very, very big surprise. So I guess it reconfirms what I'm doing in a business sense. But to be honest, it didn't give me the most pleasure. It was lovely and they've been great and very supportive. But I think what's given me the most pleasure is seeing the ladies that I take out, seeing them again, and them texting me to say, Leanne, you never guess what? I did that route you were telling me about, and I did it on my own. Thank you. And I think that's what I get the most pleasure out of. I think being a teacher for 20 odd years, you cannot shake off the feeling you get when you see your students become autonomous, when they don't need you, when you've taught them and given them the skills and they're off flying. That stays with you forever. And I think that's what gives me the most pleasure, to be honest.
Fantastic. I love to hear that. And, 99% of tourpreneurs I speak to, it's the same thing. We're in a business based around our passion. Yes, we all want to make a living. I speak to very few tourpreneurs who are like, I want to be a multi-millionaire. Most of us just want to have a good standard of living and create a business that we're passionate about. So what you're saying there is, that's when someone sends you that kind of text message, it makes it all the sleepless nights and all the aggravation worthwhile, doesn't it?
100%. It's, I guess, every tour person that does cycling, walking, whiskey tours, whatever it may be, you start it because you love what you're doing and you want to share it with others. So yeah, I genuinely love it.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for sharing your journey with us today, and more importantly, your 3 key learnings since you started your tour business. Where can people follow you online, Leanne?
So my website is awepedal.com. I have a Facebook page of the same name, Instagram. I keep my Instagram and Facebook page up to date. Yeah. Pretty much every day I'm posting.
Yes, we will add all those links to tourpreneur.com/129 because, some of you might be listening to this when they're cycling. I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not, or definitely out walking the dog or at the gym or whatever. And we'll save you having to write those links down. Do go check out Leanne's website and her social media pages. Leanne, thanks a million for coming on. I'd love to check in with you later in the year to see how things are going.
Oh, it'd be a pleasure. I'd love to speak to you again, Shane. Absolutely.
Marvelous.
I want more tips from you as well.
Well, that's the beauty of the podcast, right? This is why I do what I do, because like when you listen to Amy's interview, all of the tour operators that we interview, and this is actually another tip. I actually gave this to someone that I do some mentoring for in podcasting. I said, to be a podcast interviewer, you have to listen to other podcasts, of course, but try to listen to podcasts that are not in your niche. Because the problem is, like, for instance, if you were a podcaster and you were listening to cycle podcasts, chances are you're listening to the answers because you really engage and you're not listening to the question. And, sometimes I think taking tours outside of our niche is also a real eye-opener, because you can always take something, maybe it's in the way they tell the story or how they onboarded you, how they created rapport. I think sometimes we can get too dialed into the content as opposed to watching the structure of a tour. And here on Tourpreneur, I love seeing, we've just gone over 100,000 downloads, and I'm not bragging about it. I love it because it shows tour operators are willing to learn from other tour operators about how to grow our businesses. And I compliment everyone who takes time out to listen to our show to do that.
Okay, well, I'm getting through your podcast, believe me.
Fantastic.
I'm really enjoying them. So I'm very grateful for Amy for inviting me into the group, and thank you for getting in touch and inviting me here. I've thoroughly enjoyed meeting you.
Likewise. Take care, Leanne.
Okay, thanks, Shane. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Tourpreneur podcast. Be sure to visit tourpreneur.com to join the conversation and access the show notes, including links to the resources mentioned on today's episode. This is Tourpreneur.